What is going on, everybody? Welcome into another edition of the Daily Energy News Beat Stand-Up here on this gorgeous Monday, May 8th, 2023. As always, I'm your humble correspondent, Michael Tanner, coming to you from an undisclosed location here in Dallas, Texas, joined by the executive producer of the show, the purveyor of the show, and the director and publisher of the world's greatest website, EnergyNewsBeat.com, Stuart Turley. My man, how was your weekend?
Yeah, it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood here in Abilene, Texas, West Texas. You got to love West Texas.
You got to love it, even though it is warming by a 1/10 of a degree every decade. So I hope you stayed cool this weekend.
I love it hot, dude.
No, you do prefer it hot. We hope everybody who's listening had a great weekend. We have an excellent show for you lined up. Absolutely stacked, guys. First article, dark side to solar. More reports tie panel production to toxic pollution. Stu will cover what's going on in the solar pollution area. Next up, why OPEC is increasingly frustrated with the IEA. Join the line, OPEC. They're finally coming around to the IEA. Sucks. Stu will cover what's bothering OPEC with the IPA. Next up, copper mine flashes warnings of huge crisis for world supply. This is not good. Stu will dive into that. Specifically picked out for me next up, kill the whales. On Friday, Joe Biden signed an executive order directing all federal agencies to work towards environmental justice for all. Stu will cover how that means we are going to kill all the whales. And then quickly, we will cover Alaskan truck driver fleet's promise up $150,000 per year in terms of a salary amid drilling boom. You know, this is one of the positive externalities of inviting drilling into your area is they brings in a lot of high-paying jobs, and you don't necessarily need to have 12 years of college under your belt. You just need your CDL. So this is Stu will dive into what's going on with Alaska truck driver salaries. And then finally, this one hits close to home. Demand for electricity in Texas will exceed supply this summer. Done. Better stock up, I guess. Stu will kick it over to me. I'll quickly cover what's going on in the oil and gas finance markets. Lots of earnings. I highly recommend you guys check out EnergyNewsBeat.com category earnings. You can do it up at the top toolbar or just in the search bar, type earnings. We've got like 10 companies who dropped earnings. We're not going to be able to cover them all. I'll get to one, Northern Oil and Gas, because Stu and I personally just love their business model. I'll cover what's going on in the oil and gas markets. We're back up to about 71.32. After seeing, last week, weekly lows under 66 for a bit. Give an idea of what to look for this week. It's pretty spicy. Natural gas about $2.11 as we record this afternoon. Here on the 7th. We will get to all that and a bag of chips here, guys. But first, as always, these stories are brought to you by the world's greatest website, www.energynewsbeat.com, the best place for all your energy news. Stu does a great job of curating it. As I mentioned, in this busy earnings season, we've got categories for everything. Earnings. I'll just run through. We've got downstream, E&P, energy crisis, energy policy, EIA news, grid, midstream, offshore, upstream, international, EU, geopolitical, OPEC plus, Russia, Saudi Arabia, UK, Ukraine, and that's only half of all of the different categories that you can shoot. So I would recommend going to our website, searching by any category you need. Great way to navigate the website. You can also see all of the stories you're about to hear in the description below. Our team does a great job of curating that and make sure that everything's there. I noticed they're doing a great job of putting the timestamps in there, so keep it up, guys. That's awesome. Dashboard.energynewsbeat.com, the best place for all your data and news combo. Get it while you still can. You never know when that might go behind some sort of subscription paywall, so be on the lookout there, guys. I'm out of breath, though, Stu. Let's kick this off. Where do you want to begin?
Hey, what a great job there, Michael. Hey, the first one coming around the corner, dark side of solar, more reports tie panel production to toxic pollution. Energy hypocrisy is real and is on the top of the list of hostile opposing forces to humanity worldwide. There's a great quote in there. That's part of the quote from this guy. Let's see here. It is energy hypocrisy is real, and it's on top of the list of the hostile opposing forces to humanity worldwide. Stu Turley. I wonder who that guy is. All right. This article is actually from Michael Schellenberger. I love me some Michael Schellenberger.
Love Michael Schellenberger. Great guy. I listen to his podcast all the time. Didn't he run for governor of California, kind of?
He did, and he even said he'd come on our podcast. And then he got into the run for governor, and he's like ghosted me. I had his book. It was a good book, and I was going to give him.
He wrote San Francisco, which is a real interesting book.
Right.
And then what's the other one?
It's
I
one
have
with
it. I
polar
have
bears
it
on
I
it.
have it on my
have
Audible.
Yeah, I have it, and I was.
But whatever. Okay, let's go ahead.
Okay. Solar panels. I love me some solar. I love me some wind, but let's do the lowest cost kilowatt per hour. Let's go into this here right now. Conventional wisdom today holds that the world will quadruple the number of solar panels in the world over the next decade. And that's not even taking into consideration the impact of possible new regulations and incentives launched by the green-friendly Biden administration, said Atsu Wasanlove and Duran Wright in the HBR. Okay, the volume of solar panels will destroy the economics of solar, even with the subsidies, they say, by 2035. Here's how. The pollutants that are in solar panels, there is no plan to recycle. So if you are truly lover of the planet, which I am, I love me some planet. I happen to live on it. You've got to recycle the solar panels, Michael. And if you can't recycle them, these things go into waste and cause more damage than any oil ever thought of doing.
Well, because we just ship our trash overseas and it's out of sight, out of mind.
No. This is going into landfills around the US. This is in your backyard.
Oh, 1,000%. But most of our trash gets shipped overseas. That's true. Like Africa is the dumping ground of the world. China dumps all of its trash into Africa. We send a lot of our electronics to China, which end up. So what I'm saying is, yes, this stuff's being recycled, not recycled. It's just being sent elsewhere, which is horrible. Right. I thought this paragraph was interesting in this article. A new major study on the economics of solar that was published in the Harvard Business Review, okay, finds that waste produced by solar panels will make electricity from solar panels 4 times more expensive than the world's leading energy analysts thought. Quote, here's a quote from that. The Economics of Solar. This is by Atle Atus and Luc van Wassenhoop. If you don't think those guys are smart, I can't help you. They're the Institute European Administration for one of the leading European business schools. I don't even know what that means. And some dude from University of Calgary said the economics of solar will quickly darken as the industry sinks under the weight of its own trash.
And wind is just as bad.
True. But I think in this specific case, I found that one of the most compelling paragraphs in this article, if only because, it goes on to say the volume of solar panel waste will destroy the economics of solar, even with the subsidies. They say by 2035, discarded panels will outweigh new units sold by 2.56 times. In turn, this would catapult the leverage cost of energy, the LOC, which everybody talks about, to 4 times the current projection.
Yeah, another key thing in here in this article, Michael, the HBR authors, who are business school professors, looked at the economics from the point of view of the consumer or customer and past trends, and calculated that customers would replace the panels far sooner than every 30 years. My calculations are coming in on wind farms. I haven't even done solar yet. Around that 8-year mark, and I've been validated, as we say here in Texas. Validated.
The stew number.
8 years, baby.
The stew calculation.
Hey, and they only come net zero on wind farms around 10 years on carbon net zero.
No kidding. What's next?
Okay, let's go to the next one. I love me an OPEC story and why OPEC is increasingly frustrated with the IEA. First, the EU and the IEA need to be thrown out. Just dissolve, blow them up. Figuratively, just wipe them off the face of the earth, figuratively, and disband them. Okay, where we have been tensions between the OPEC and the IEA for a very long time. The IEA, Michael, has been in bold, aggressively pushing for a global energy transition, a position that OPEC believes is dangerous and ignores the data that shows that more oil will be needed. Um, Michael, I have a lot of respect for the Saudi Arabian people. I mean, the Saudi Arabian leadership, they are going down the renewable path with caution. They're putting money behind it. They're taking the profits from the oil that is much needed, but they're doing hydrogen. They're taking their time and they're thinking past the next election cycle. They're actually doing it very nicely. Saudi Arabia happens to be the whole controlling part of OPEC.
I mean, there's a pretty crazy back and forth going on with OPEC and the IEA. I mean, last week you've got IEA's director, the executive director on record saying OPEC should be, quote, very careful about raising oil prices, saying this would provide a, quote, additional boost to the global energy transition away from fossil fuels. And then the OPEC secretary comes out and says, no, that the finger pointing and misrepresenting the actions of OPEC and OPEC Plus were, quote, counterproductive. He's got a much longer quote down here. He says, quote, the IEA knows very well that there is a confluence of factors that impact the market. A knock-on effect of COVID-19, monetary policy, stock moves, algorithmic trading, commodity trading advisors, SPR releases, coordinated or uncoordinated, geopolitics, to name a few. And blaming oil for higher inflation was erroneous and technically inaccurate, as there are many other factors causing inflation. That's a firebomb.
Oh, look at the next one down, Michael. Next paragraph. We don't think cuts are advisable at this moment, given market uncertainty, and we have made that clear. Hats off to them. I love me the leadership there.
Yeah, I mean, we're just waiting. Stu's waiting to get sponsored by OPEC. Stu's trying to get sponsored by OPEC.
Hey, we call it like it is. I don't care if it's renewable. I don't care. Let's have the technology. Let's have responsible discussions. I love, ESG. Just let's do it right. Let's not print money. Okay.
That segment is brought to you by OPEC Plus. Contact OPECplus.org for all your oil needs.
Last time I talked to an executive over there at Russia's Gazprom, he was about to sponsor the show before he was arrested.
What's next?
Copper mine flashes warning of huge crisis for world supply. Michael, I don't even want to know how I pronounce this one. Oye Togul in southern Mongolia, just north of the Chinese border, is key to the Rio's efforts to move beyond its dependence on iron ore and expand in copper. There is a huge crisis. Doug Kerwin, I can pronounce that name, thank goodness. One of our earliest geologists to work at the deposit that became Togo. It's spelled Oyutolgoi. If any of our listeners know how to say that, please send us a note.
It says we'll refer to it as Turquoise Hill.
Oh, well, I can't even pronounce Turquoise Hills yet. Turquoise Hill, named after the area's rock stained by oxidized copper. Quote, there is no way we can supply the amount of copper in the next 10 years to drive the energy transition and carbon zero. It's not going to happen, adds Kerwin, now an independent consulting geologist. There's not just enough copper deposits being found or deployed. Holy smokes. This guy knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. In the next paragraph down, they mentioned a Wood Mackenzie estimate that said we're going to be 6 million tons of copper short by the next decade, meaning we would need 12 more Turquoise Hills in order to come online within that period. It takes 5 years to turn mines online. It's not going to happen. It's really tough to get new mines. Bloomberg NFE estimates that appetite for refined copper will grow by 53% by 2040, but mine supply will only climb by 16%. You know what that means? Copper prices, whoop, woo,
you know what that means? You know what that means? all the supply chain for everything, even updating to the grid, updating to anything, electricity,
Yeah.
energy is going to become more and more expensive. So we got to cut costs where we can. And I know how to do that.
Yeah, I mean, you already see companies getting in to copper. Newmont had a record bid for Newcrest Mining, which is an Australian peer gold mining, but also has a large copper portfolio. BHP Group just completed its acquisition of Oz Minerals, which is a copper producer and one of their largest in decades. The M&A is moving towards in the mining space, moving towards copper in a big way.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
What's next?
Look at this. Look at this one, Michael. Kill the whales. Okay, Michael, you and I have been having some discussions. You just don't care about the whales. Me, I love me some whales. I'm a humanitarian. I care about people. You, heartless to the core. All you do is you care about finances and making money. And me, I'm over here going, green is good, but let's finance it properly. There's on Energy Newsbeat. I love this picture. There's a sniper scope pointed at a whale fluke. I just got really tickled at this one. It was authored by James Rickard via the Daily Reckoning. This came in on one of our feeds that we pay for. And this one says, on Friday morning, Joe Biden signed an executive order directing every federal agency to work towards environmental justice for all. If the future of the planet is on the line, then you can justify whatever extreme measure you want to enact. I'm sorry. I'm getting really tired of this when we can't even have a discussion. Here are the facts. They got it backward. I love the way he phrased it. There's a slight warming trend from 1985 to around 2005, although there's nothing unusual. Since 2005, there's been a slight cooling trend, but again, that's not unusual. Okay, let's leave climate change off this discussion. Let's talk about wind farm and the damage that we are doing to children. I know that you don't like abusing children, Michael. You relate to them at the mall. They all come up to you, Michael. They come up to you because you're the same height. They love you. Okay. So you've got to put into your mind the copper mines. The kids have to be listened to, Michael. Go champion them. Please, Michael, I implore you, save the whales and the children. Michael, for our podcast listeners, I'm begging Michael to just change his ways.
No, I that was good actually. I am with you on. I think wind is a bad investment, even from a finance perspective. I don't think, talking about leverage cost of energy, talking about the recycling game, talking about some of the negative second order effects that happen from this. My only thing is, if a few whales die, I'm cool with it. That's really it's really all it is. That's all I've been saying this whole time.
Oil saved them the first time when we
and now wind's gonna kill them. Wind's gonna
kill them again, and oil and natural gas are gonna save them this time.
It's a good point, actually. They're gonna have to save them twice. What's next?
All right, sorry, but Michael, thank you for standing up for the children. I know that Mama Tanner is going to be all over and proud of you now.
Yep, absolutely.
She's not going to quit. She's going to quit calling me and telling me bad things. All right.
No kidding.
Alaskan. I love me Alaska. You know that. Been up there, love it. Alaskan trucking fleets promise 150K driver salary amid drilling boom. This was up on the North Slope and at the head of the Keystone pipeline. Not the Keystone, the Alaska pipeline. I was just daydreaming about the Biden administration killing off the Keystone. 6-figure salaries for Alaskan truck drivers, but the job isn't for everyone. Oh my. You got to be tough. I mean, it is a tough one, but Michael, if I had to do it over again, I would have either gone into the Army or I would have gone to be an Alaskan truck driver rather than go to college. I should not have gone to
Mhm.
college. Their driver compensation went up 11% each round trip to Fairbanks and Prudhoe Bay, pays around 1,500. Drivers can expect to make 100 to 115 trips to Prudhoe Bay. This means that Alaska West Express drivers can earn around 150 to 170K in addition to benefits. They actually, when I was working with the Alaska Pipeline group selling technology up there, they had to pay expenses. They had to put you up in bunks. Man, if you're a young buck and you want to make some serious coin, that's how you do it.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, you can make a lot of money working some very tedious, dangerous, but necessary jobs in the oil and gas business. And we need those people.
Love them.
Obviously, as you know, they specifically mentioned this ConocoPhillips Willow project. That's going to bring economic development to wherever it comes. And I think that's one of the positive second order effects of any type of capital spending. Yes, even wind farms are going to have a positive effect if they do initiate jobs at some level. It's not all
And
bad, but when you
they're
talk
gonna
about
save some whales.
sustainable jobs, when you talk about then things that are going to help move forward, obviously we prefer the investment go more into the natural gas, this is exactly what this Willow project is much more of a natural gas play. There's a huge natural gas field on top of this. So I think increasing specifically the United States, our natural gas production, and continuing to make sure that we can completely insource that from ourselves is gain. But you love to see this.
Oh, absolutely, Michael. And
Love Freight Waves too. This is an article by Freight Waves. They're a great website and really great information on trucking.
Yes. We love them. We love our truckers. We love our oil field guys. Last story here, demand for electricity will exceed summer supply. Michael, if you're wearing a fur coat all the time, you are absolutely going to be miserable, like my beloved dogs. They're going to absolutely be miserable. I know some folks that wear fur coats for a living. I model them, by the way. We're going to cover this later because I've got some more things that are going to happen with ERCOT later in the week. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to you because the producer's giving me the hook here saying we've gone too long.
Yeah, I mean, this is not good. Basically, what they're saying is, I mean, listen to what they're saying, Stu. They're saying that this summer, especially on a hot day when the sun sets and it's not windy, Texans may be asked to conserve. That happened 12 times last summer. I'm gonna die.
Yes, you are. How's that fur coat going for you?
I mean, I'm gonna need a shave probably. I'm gonna probably have to go through like weekly shavings.
Right. It's pretty pretty bad when your dog Sandy goes, man, dude, I'm feeling sorry for you.
Yeah, exactly. She's the one feeling sorry for me.
All right. Thank you, Michael. It's off to you now.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a quick segment here. I think it's important to cover what's going on in for oil and gas prices. We're currently at 71.32 for oil, and I mean, after seeing a increase on Friday, we still cap our third weekly fall, mainly just off economic woes. Again, we saw basis Jerome Powell come out and increase the Fed funds rate to 5 to 5.25 from guidance. Not sure what's going to happen with that number going forward. But again, as the U.S. economy goes, so will oil prices. As far as an outlook on what's happening with oil prices this week, I think it's continued to be volatile. I don't think we're going to see below 70 much, but I'd be shocked if I see us at 80 anytime soon. But again, I tend to play it a little more pessimistic than most people. Natural gas continues to hover at that $2.10 mark, $2.20 mark. Stu, I mean, what are your thoughts on, I mean, from a natural gas perspective? This is much more, obviously in the short term, we're going to continue to see volatility. Do you see natural gas in a very prolonged bearish cycle, or do you see it as this sort of a chasm that we're about to climb out of, and we're going to see $4, $5, $6 natural gas here come, say end of the year?
I think we're in a long-term little bit of a bear defined by a year. I think natural gas is a very, very good long-term play. And I think it's because we're going to need it more. However, let's say if you're planning on LNG exports to help make up for some of that bandwidth, takes 2 years to bring on a permitting administration. If the administration wanted to save save the Europeans, it would be a different story. If the Northeast would put in pipelines, it'd be a different story. If we would move and the EIA, the US version of the IEA, basically said that the reason our smog and pollution has gone down is because of large amounts of coal plants being retired and moving to natural gas. So in order to move to natural gas, which would help the environment, help jobs, energy security, 2 years.
Interesting. Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, you're right. I don't think we're going to be able to turn much of that stuff on. So I tend to agree with what you're saying. We also saw rig counts drop on Friday. We had a -7 drop. Last week we were above 750. This week we check in at 748 rigs. That's still up 43 from last year. We saw no change in the Canadian market, and we saw 17 rigs added in the international market. All those numbers are courtesy of Baker Hughes. I think the only other thing, as I mentioned in the opening segment, go to our website, guys, check out the category earnings. We had like 10 companies drop earnings. I mean, you can go see what we've got: Crescent Point, we've got Baytex, we've got EOG, we've got Interplus, we've got Sandwich, we've got Coterra, we've got ConocoPhillips, we've got and Shell. All those just dropped on a Friday. I would highly recommend go check Thursday and Friday. Go check out our website. You'll be able to see all of those. We wanted to highlight specifically Northern Oil and Gas because Stu and I, from a non-op perspective, really like what Northern's doing. And when I mean non-op, I mean they are not operators. They have a really small, lean team, and they invest non-op, which means, yes, they are working interest owners.
And good management.
Good management, but they don't necessarily, all they do is they're just managing the assets from a non-operated interest standpoint. They had a record adjusted EBITDA, $325 million. Obviously that's non-GAAP, so we'd have to read the fine print on that. Record quarterly production, about 87,000 BOE per day. That's 62% oil, an increase of 23% from the first quarter of last year. 83 million of free cash flow, despite increased development activity and volatility in commodity prices. They closed an acquisition of 39.9% non-operated working interest in a project out there in the Permian Basin for $319 million, which is absolutely crazy. Great for them. They declared a dividend of 34 cents per common share, an increase from 13% from fourth quarter, and declared a 37% common dividend for the second quarter of 2023, representing a 9% increase in the first quarter. Repurchased 9 million shares and retired about 19 million of 8.25 senior notes, and increased their repurchase authorization for their senior notes by 100 million. All around good news for Northern. They continue to chug along, Stu. Non-op continues to win, in my opinion.
Yep. As long as they got good management. You can get slaughtered if you have bad management.
Yes, you can, Stu. Anything they need to be watching out for this week?
It's going to be pretty crazy. I just want to give a shout out to all of our fans that are listening out there. It is just crazy how popular the show is, Michael. And the feedback I'm getting is that you're always doing a fantastic job. So thank you, and save the whales and the kids. Thank you very much.
I don't know who you're talking to, but I'm sure they're lying to you. But we appreciate it, guys. We're going to let you get out of here. Hope you have a great week. For Stuart Turley, I'm Michael Tanner. World's greatest website, guys, energynewsbeat.com. We'll see you tomorrow.